Hi everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of our exploration of liquid data types. In the last video, we covered the essentials of strings and numbers in Liquid. Today, we're going deeper and discussing some other vital data types you need to know: Boolean, nil, array, and empty drop. Let's dive right in. Now, let's dive into Booleans in Liquid. Booleans are one of the simplest data types, representing only two possible values: true or false. In Liquid, it's important to write these exactly as they appear in the documentation, all lowercase, with no quotes around them. They're extremely useful for making decisions in your code, allowing you to display different content based on whether certain conditions are met. Let's walk through a few examples to see how this works. To start, we'll create a Boolean variable as a simple example. Here, I've set up a variable called physical store. This variable allows theme users to set it to either true or false, depending on whether they have a physical store. For now, we'll keep it set to true. Next, let's use this variable within a conditional statement. This code checks if physical store is true. If it is, we'll display a button labeled Store Locations with styling from the Dawn Themes button class. If physical store is set to false, we'll display a message instead that says, "We don't have physical stores. Let's save it." And we can see the Store Location button. Now, let's try switching the variable to false and see what happens. Save and refresh. We can see the message, "We don't have physical stores." We can simplify this even further by removing the comparison operator equals equals and the Boolean value from the conditional tag. In Liquid, the conditional statement will check if physical store has a true value on its own, and check the results. Now, we can see the same output without explicitly comparing it to true or false. Let's set physical store back to true again. The Store Locations button reappears on the page. This type of conditional control is incredibly helpful for showing or hiding content based on simple true or false conditions. Let's look at a practical example with Shopify's built-in shop.customer_accounts_enabled property. The value of this object property is Boolean. That tells us if customers are allowed to create accounts on the store. We can use this property to conditionally display content, like a login or register button if customer accounts are enabled. This code checks if shop.customer_accounts_enabled is true. If so, it will display the login button. If not, we won't display anything. Save the code. Currently, we don't see the login button because customer accounts are disabled in our store. To enable customer accounts, we'll go to the Shopify dashboard. In the navigation bar on the left, click on Settings. Then select Customer Accounts. And enable the option to show login links. After making these changes, let's go back to our site and refresh the page. Now, the Login or Register button appears, reflecting the updated settings. Now, let's explore the nil data type in Liquid. In some programming languages, it's called null. Nil is a special empty value that is returned when Liquid code has no results. In Liquid, nil is a special data type that represents the absence of a value or nothingness. When a variable has no value assigned to it, or if it's unset, it's considered nil. Like with Booleans, we don't put quotes around nil, and we write it in lowercase exactly as it appears in the documentation. Nil is treated as false in the conditions of if blocks and other Liquid tags that check the truthfulness of a statement. This can be very helpful in situations where we want to check if something exists before displaying it on the website. To see this in action, let's set up a variable that will define nil. I'll call it special_offer. The value of this variable will be nil. Let's now use an if statement to check whether special offer has a value. We'll use if tag to determine if special offer is not nil, meaning it has some content. If it's not nil, we'll display the variable. Let's write an else block. We'll show a default message saying, "No special offers available." Save. When we check our site, we can see the message, "No special offers available," because special offer is nil right now, and nil is treated as falsy value or false. Another incident happened when we saved our file. Nil is converted to null automatically by the Shopify Liquid extension on VS Code. We can also remove the not equal operator and null like we did in Boolean. Save. Still, the results are same as before. Let's check the Liquid documentation for truthy and falsy values. We are on the Shopify dev website. In Liquid, only false and nil are considered falsy values. All other data types like true, zero, empty string, empty array, and empty objects are considered as truthy values. If you know Python or JavaScript, you can notice a significant difference with Liquid. I recommend you to read the documentation after the tutorial. In simple terms, truthy and falsy values are concepts used in programming to determine whether a value is considered true or false in conditional statements. Let's look at some examples in Liquid. We'll start with an if statement and use different values to see how Liquid evaluates them. We'll place 0 in the if statement and check the output. If 0 is truthy, we'll display truthy value. Otherwise, we'll display falsy value. Save the code. We can see that 0 has a truthy value in Liquid. Now, let's try an empty string. Save. The output shows that an empty string also has a truthy value. Let's test with a Boolean false. Save. This time, we see falsy value on the screen. Finally, let's test with nil. Save. The output confirms that nil is treated as a falsy value in Liquid. So, in Liquid, only Boolean false and nil have falsy value. Now, let's revisit our example with nil. We'll assign a value to our special offer variable and see the change in behavior. I'll set special offer to 20% off on all items. After saving, now we see the promotional message showing 20% off on all items. This is because special offer is no longer nil. Now let's talk about arrays, another important data type in Liquid. Arrays are collections or lists of variables of any type, allowing us to store multiple values within a single variable. This is particularly useful when you need to work with a list of items, such as product tags, customer orders, or blog categories. In Liquid, we can't directly initialize arrays. Most of the time, we work with arrays provided by Shopify, but there is a way to create arrays manually. We use the split filter to break a single string into an array of substrings. To create an array, we'll use the assign tag and create a string variable. First, let's create a variable named 7daysName and write the names of the 7 days as a string, separated by commas. We can display this on the screen using the JSON filter. Save. At this point, we see it as a normal string. Next, let's create another variable called 7days name array. We'll assign 7days name as the value and apply the split filter to it. Now, let's display it using the JSON filter. Save. We can now see a collection of the 7days names separated by commas and wrapped in square brackets. This structure is similar to an array in JavaScript. To display each day on the page, we can use an ordered list and for loop. Save. This code outputs each day as a separate line on your page. In Liquid, you can use square bracket notation to access a specific item in an array. Remember, array indexing starts at 0, so the first item is at index 0. For example, if we want to display the first day in the 7days name array variable, we can write 7days name array square bracket 0. To access the last day, we can write 7days name array square bracket 6. Save. This outputs Monday as the first item and Sunday as the last item. You can use a similar notation to access any item by its index. First, let's understand what an object is. An object is like a container that holds values in a key-value format. Think of it as a printed dictionary where each key has an associated value. Objects are enclosed in double curly braces when used in Liquid templates. For example, shop is an object. We can obtain the name of the shop by using shop.name. While we can't create objects ourselves in Shopify, Shopify provides us with various data in object format, such as product, collection, customer, and more. Now, why is empty used? The empty value is returned when you try to access an object that is defined but has no value. This can happen, for example, when a page or product has been deleted, or when a setting has no assigned value. You can compare an object with empty to check whether it exists before accessing any of its attributes. This helps prevent errors and ensures your theme handles missing or undefined data gracefully. Let's try it in the code editor. We will declare an if tag. If the cart is not empty, we will show total items in the cart and total amount. We will also use the money filter. In the else block, if the cart is empty, we will show the cart is empty text. Save. We can see the cart is empty text. Because our cart is empty, let's add a few products to the cart. Refresh. Now, we can see the number of items and total amount in the cart. This example shows how we can use the empty data type to create dynamic content based on the state of the object. And that wraps up our comprehensive look at data types in Liquid. In our first video, we explored strings and numbers, laying the groundwork for understanding how Liquid handles text and numerical data. Today, we expanded on that by discussing Booleans, nil, arrays, and empty object, which are essential for adding logic and control to your theme development. We also examined truthy and falsy values, giving you the knowledge to build error-free templates by knowing when data is present or missing. If you found this series helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials on Shopify development. Your support keeps me motivated to create more content like this. Thank you for spending these 15 minutes with me. Remember, time is a finite resource. Use it wisely. I appreciate you choosing to invest it here. See you next time.